Our new book, A Path Appears, really grew out of Half the Sky and the reaction that readers had to it. This is a little church-run food depot where people could come and pick up. People kept coming up to us and asking, so what do I do? How can I help? And we partly wanted to address that question, and we wanted also to know, frankly, for our part, I mean, what can we do more effectively to make a difference? Well, they're a model for it. They've become a model for the whole community.
These are stories of a new generation of leaders, visionaries, stories that offer new inspiration to bring about change.
We're going to go on a journey. We're looking at violence against women and girls in Kenya and also in Atlanta. And we'll be looking for innovative, evidence-based solutions that reduce the scope of the problem.
Because violence against women is the most pervasive violence of human rights in the world. You find it everywhere.
Domestic violence cuts across all races and all classes. There is no one easy answer to solving the problem of sexual violence and domestic violence. We've made a lot of progress in the United States, but it's something we're still struggling with.
There's something we can all do. And we now have an unprecedented amount of information about what works.
Welcome. You Lester? You Lester? All right.
And we must appreciate that these are not private matters. These are not cultural matters. These are crimes against human beings.
He went to the house, beat her, battered her in front of the kids. She called 911. There was a visible mark left on her, so the police had enough to take out the warrant. He is 6'1", 241 pounds. Sheriff Office. How you doing?
Why you gotta lock the bathroom? There's a door back there.
Then he just pushed me, and after that, I guess we blacked out. He grabbed me. Then we blacked out, hit the floor, and that's the last thing I remember.
Have a seat for me. I don't want the kids back there, okay? I don't want the kids back there.
So you're saying that you don't want to proceed?
No.
Okay.
Is your relationship with them over, or is it continuing, or what is the status of it?
I mean, we on good terms. Just close it, let it go. I mean, I don't think it'll happen again, you know.
It happened twice before, you said? I mean, it happened once before?
Once before, yes.
So why wouldn't it happen a third time?
This time, I was just running my mouth.
He drew me in pretty quickly, and things started to change after a while.
He got very possessive and controlling.
After I started having a baby, like, things just got worse and worse and worse.
Every discussion turned into an argument, and then he started becoming physically abusive.
Hello? What is your emergency? Can you just send someone, please? What's the issue, the problem? My dad was just choking my mom! Okay, hold on 1 second.
One gauge the toll of domestic violence. Between 2000 and 2006, you had 3,200 Americans who died at war in Afghanistan and Iraq. In that same period, you had more than 3 times that many who died as a result of domestic violence. Yet, think of all the headlines we had about the war, and we didn't have any real conversation or coverage of domestic violence. This is something that affects 1 woman in 4 in America. kills one woman in the US every 6 hours, and yet because it's something of a taboo, it doesn't get nearly the attention it deserves.
So gender-based violence, as one example of something that flouts the rule of law, is a real problem because it impacts the entire family unit. It comes into the home.
If you ask, why didn't you leave? But there's a psychological oppression to abuse. Domestic violence is really about control. When you're told every day that no one else is gonna want you, you're nothing and, you know, you're capable of nothing. I think the impact it has on the human spirit is always, you know, shocking because you know that that reverberates through so many lives. I was born and raised in Washington, but my grandmother was here. So I would spend summers with my grandmother, and I'd come to Atlanta when I was little, before Atlanta was this Atlanta, when it was kind of like a small little, almost like a town. So it was interesting to hear domestic violence connected with this place, with this city. It always kind of was a bit more of a retreat.
Hi. It's great to see you. Thank you so much for coming and doing this.
It's my pleasure.
It's great to have you here. So we'll meet Ayanna Johnson, who is this woman who works as an advocate on domestic violence issues, as a legal resource for women who need help, need protection orders, and is trying to figure out better legal remedies for women who are undergoing domestic violence. And one of the things that she's really been pioneering is bringing in men to be part of the solution rather than just part of the problem.
Hi. How are you?
Hi.
Hi. So nice to meet you.
So great to meet you.
Thank you. Ayanna.
Regina.
Good to see you. Good to see you. Hi
Great to
there.
see you.
So nice to see you. Great to meet you.
Congratulations on all you're doing.
Thank you so much. This is where we walk through some of the most difficult places that women will ever walk through in their lives. I mean, just as you can see, there's one entrance and one exit. And so often she's walking through the same door as the person that she fears. And so what I wish is that we had the ability, you know, to be able to protect women from that experience.
You see so much emotionally that the women go through. How do you keep it in this building?
That's a good question. The truth is, I don't think I do. I don't think I do. I mean, some days, some things are a little bit easier to compartmentalize. I guess in some way you have to, so that you can separate your life from the life of those that you serve, you know? But I think at the same time, like the day that I can't feel something means that maybe I need to be doing something else. I remember the first few nights that I worked in our safe house. I think I was under the impression that, you know, women would, you know, naturally, you know, just want to talk. And there's still, even in a house full of women, so much shame that is projected upon us about someone else mistreating us.
Domestic violence happens to women of all backgrounds, but it disproportionately affects the most vulnerable of us, those on the margins. So in the shelters, you see a lot of people similar to those in homeless shelters or in other anti-poverty initiatives. These are people with nowhere left to go.
It's sacred soil, it's sacred ground, you know, that you'll be stepping on because it is a safe house. And we do everything that we can to ensure that the women and the children and the staff are protected there. You will not see an address, you will not see anything that will distinguish that this is a place that women are in hiding.
Women's Resource Center Crisis Hotline.
I want to get some kind of...
And what county are you calling from?
Coweta County.
Okay. And which race do you identify with?
Caucasian.
Okay. Are you Hispanic?
Yes.
What's your age?
41.
Okay.
How often do you get
The
calls?
phone is constantly ringing with crisis calls up until the time I'm leaving out in the evening. I normally leave at like 11 o'clock at night.
Of all those calls, how many women actually show up? When you're getting calls all day, do they actually end up coming for help?
Our program is an emergency program. It's 90 days long, so within that period, I mean, we're always at capacity. Sometimes we find that we can get women into the general homeless shelters if they are not being pursued by their batterer. And so their needs are still being met. The general homeless shelters have pretty much the same resources that we have, except we are in a confidential location, so that makes it a lot more difficult for the batterer to find them.
So priority for a bed here would go to somebody who's being pursued by their batterer.
Yes. This is a call.
Yeah.
Hello, can I help you? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'd be glad to help you today. Who am I speaking with? Kelly with an I.
Mom and Dad had a volatile relationship.
Okay, one moment.
My dad used to push my mom and, yell, and they'd have their arguments. And even though he didn't punch her, it was much more of what you thought domestic violence was when you thought it was okay, 3 decades ago or 4 decades ago.
He just pulled a little bit of his Rambo stuff on me,
And so I guess I came into this thinking, oh yeah, I know what domestic violence is,
it just takes a little piece of you every time. And it was greatly affecting my ability to parent. So, I'm trying to stay under the radar.
Okay.
So when I walked into the safe house, I didn't expect warmth. I expected, a facility. I expected the women to have a place to sleep and to have their physical needs met.
What's this one?
Hi.
Yeah.
A house is like it's a building, it's windows, it's what it takes to live in. I didn't expect to see the open arms for their children and playpens and crayons and swing sets and slides. I didn't expect there to be something so close to home.
That's what you've been wanting all this time, Sarah, huh? You're into that, Sarah. How old are your kids?
10, 7, and 4.
All girls?
Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, I got all girls. But, I love this place. I think it saved me. A lot of females do die, and they stick around, and I made that choice to leave.
So right now he's charged with
Dirty
beating you up
assault.
when you were in that shelter, but before that he had abused you, which led you to run away to the shelter, I guess. So what has he done?
When I had to end up in the hospital, that's when I went to the shelter. All them years I was just sitting there and letting him. He used to, tie me up, leave me in the closet, do mean things to me, tell me nobody loves me. He'd jump on me, he'd choke me. Even it was one situation when he was choking me so bad that my older daughter had to jump on his back to get him off of me.
It's okay. How long were you in the hospital when you were hospitalized?
4 days.
And you were knocked unconscious, is that right? And did he break any bones?
Yeah, he broke my orbit bone in my eye.
The what bone?
The orbit bone. The bone.
With his fist?
Sometimes I just look at that scar and I hate that. I should just left sooner. Now my eye, God, y'all right. I hate it.
Don't hate it. You're still pretty. You're still pretty.
I didn't even know it.
Yeah, it's okay.
breaking your orbital bone, which is what boxers do. I mean, that's the amount of pressure.
I know it's like so hard to go back and talk about this. Like, I broke down and cried earlier, so I know exactly how you're feeling, but we're gonna do it together, okay?
Yeah.
Aw.
Okay, baby.
Why are you crying?
Oh, it was nothing.
This is the birthday girl.
You're the birthday girl?
I almost ate your whole cake and
I think the residual effects of the abuse is what you don't think about.
How old are you?
You can think about all the physical things that happen and you know that it's going to be extreme.
I love this hair. Who did this?
You gonna tell her who did it?
Yeah?
There's a lot of love and patience that went into that hair. But this isn't just one person who receives the abuse. It's everyone around them.
He did 20 years for shooting an undercover cop.
What's wrong?
He started out probably the most perfect person I had ever met. He was like a father figure to my kids. I mean, he had father-son talks with them, both of my boys. And so it was very hard for them because a lot of the stuff they didn't see.
You still sleepy?
Did it? Burnt my arm right here with the iron. And I have no idea what triggered it, what happened. His moods were all over the place. And one of the times that I tried to leave him, he forced me to have sex with him. And
It's tough.
he had a warrant, they took him to jail, he bonded out, and then after that, he disappeared. And a detective that was working with me told me I needed to get away as far as possible.
Matthew, what did you think? Did you see this side of him too?
I didn't see a bad side that much.
Yeah. Did you kind of, but you saw the effect on your mom?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's been extremely difficult to have to uproot our life for somebody who should be in jail.
What the? I mean, I experienced it with my mom. Like, my mom used to get beat by the men she was with or whatever. And honestly, I feel like being with him since I was 18 years old, I felt like that was his way of expressing his love to me. A man is supposed to tell their woman what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And I just went along with it at the time. He destroyed our apartment like my eye, and I just couldn't take it. So when I called the police and they came, arrested him, and then I got on the stand and I told them that he didn't do it, and they arrested me.
So in court, why did you say it hadn't happened?
I was afraid.
I see. You were, because he was there in the courtroom.
Right.
What crime were you specifically charged with?
I was charged with false report of a crime.
By the same prosecuting entity that was originally prosecuting him.
Right. Like, I
For
didn't-
these women who've been victimized and who are terrified and for whom everything is at stake, the legal bureaucracy is kind of impenetrable.
And he was beating me. He wouldn't let me out.
Yeah.
And I went back to court, and I did the same thing over again. So they arrested me again. And this time, like, I spent like 14 days in jail. And I'm actually currently on probation for it.
You spent 14 days in jail?
Yes.
From that event?
Yes.
What county? What?
Clayton County.
You really see what they're up against, you know, within themselves, you know, emotionally. But to see that outside of that fight, there's a whole other legal system that they've got to battle against too. And I think that was probably a little bit jarring for me to hear.
Because we've asked law enforcement officers and we've asked judges to be tougher on domestic violence, the laws that we really advocated for women are now being utilized
Used against
against
them.
her. Yeah.
Because of things that he grew up with, if anybody took my attention, it was a problem. I love the computer more than I loved him. I love the TV more than I loved him. I love my kids. The violence would occur when he'd go out. He's been drinking. I'd go to work, black eyes, bruised. I fell down the stairs. Constant 911 calls. They would just say, oh, is he having one of his temper tantrums? And the night of my incident, well, of course, he hit me again. He had a beer in his hand. He threw it in the back of my head. And when he got to the kitchen, he slammed me into the sink and he grabbed the phone. And when I turned around, he had it up in his hand, said he was gonna kill me. And he brought it down to hit me, and I just opened up a drawer and just grabbed what I could. And I ended up stabbing him. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know it was a knife, fork. He fell on his knees to the floor. And of course, the name calling, stupid, whatever. Got up, reached in the refrigerator, grabbed a 12-pack of beer, and left. And I said I could finally get me some rest. He's gone. Around 10, 11 o'clock, well, it's DeKalb County Police. They take me to DeKalb County Jail. I just said, ma'am, I said, excuse me. I said, can you tell me why I'm here? And she said, they didn't tell you? And I was like, no. And she was like, you're in jail for murder. She said, he didn't make it. I didn't mean to do it, but it was gonna be me or him.
Your story. The manipulation and the hitting and the berating and the things that really has caused a woman to feel trapped and without her own power are happening behind closed doors.
You have no idea. I hope you know that. Hannah, were you involved in the case, in Paula's case, when it was unfolding?
Yeah, it was.
She was there every step of the way.
They did not want to prosecute her. They believed that she was a survivor of abuse. I mean, everything was present. It wasn't a murder case.
I think you're also very sympathetic.
Her partner is the PTA president. This is the Little League coach. This is the guy that people love. Still on probation, but getting closer every day. And there are those. And then there's us, right? There's the community. We'd say, why did he leave? What did you say to make him, as if she has the power, right? What could she have done to make him treat her that way?
My name is Eric. Name of the persons I have abused, Marissa, Jacqueline, Margaret, and Phoebe. I'm not in an intimate relationship.
The name of the woman I've abused is Jana.
Why I'm here and my goals. I'm here to learn to spot my controlling tendencies and eliminate them.
Men Stopping Violence is a program in which men who are, in many cases, convicted of domestic violence try to analyze their own behavior and try to overcome it. Hey, hey. Great to see you again. You too. You Lester. You Lester.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
All right.
When was our first incident? St. Patty's Day, year of 2012.
There's no confidentiality here. There's no secret.
Describe the most recent incident. I started an argument that led me to put my hands on her neck and wrist that caused red marks on Lauren. I went to jail, loss of money, and our relationship was moving backwards.
One of the requirements, Suleiman, of our program is that each man has to stop and think about the worst use of violence he's committed towards a woman, and to name it without minimizing, denying, justifying.
The piece that came up for me is this piece that I put my hands on her neck. When I put my hands on somebody's neck, I am actually strangling him. So I want you to think about that from the standpoint of strangling and not just putting my hands around her neck.
I wrapped my arms around her as tight as I could, not as tight as I could, but to where I had complete control of her, and she couldn't get away.
Jacqueline. I slapped Jacqueline. I was definitely very angry. You know, I didn't slap her in the arm. I slapped Jacqueline across the face. Continuing that sort of behavior is not something that concerns me anymore. I see where I'm coming at them from a dominant position way earlier than slapping someone.
I wonder if through self-selection you're, bringing in people who are already kind of more enlightened and having people who kind of need the intervention less.
Mm-hmm. No man that comes to us believes he should be coming to this.
Interesting.
Doesn't matter whether they're coming from the court, doesn't matter they're coming from the priest or the therapist. Most men think, really, that's somebody else's problem. I really don't do these things.
As time passed, I feel like she felt angry, frustrated, betrayed, and disappointed.
The community is really, really invested in wanting to see this as a problem of individual men. But the reality is that this is about all of us, and an invitation to in turn look at the ways in which we participate in creating the kind of conditions and climate that make it possible to violate women.
Also working on, which is why I bring it up.
Clearly, if we're going to try to address violence against women, we can't do that only by engaging women. We have to address men and boys. It seems to me that we have to deal with teenagers and we have to deal with adult men, but that often the most pliable minds we can deal with are those of little kids.
Yeah.
And if we can help those little kids have secure attachments in their families and not resort to violence, then we're going to be reducing domestic violence after a 20-year lag.
And those same teenagers will be fathers, and so that they will impact their children, and those same men who are adults probably have children, sons or daughters already, so we already are going to see an impact from doing it from childhood, but from the men who already have babies. They get to go home, and it becomes a behavior, if we're talking about, violence is learned. We know that having more laws and having more shelters, it's a bandage on the problem.
I have been with the center long enough to see some of the children of families that I worked with 10, 12 years ago come back for services themselves. So the earlier we can begin to educate, not just girls, but boys, young men, then we can really make a difference.
So today, Jasmine and her family, Joel and Matthew, leaving the safe house to go and, start the next chapter in her life. You think she knows?
I was wondering, because for 3 months she's been around all kinds of kids and people, and now it's just gonna be us three. For the first time, I know good things are happening, and I feel okay to say it, and I know this is gonna lead to something even greater. It feels good to just not know that you're gonna be in this black hole for the rest of your life.
It's very easy to dismiss something when you just hear it. We've heard about domestic violence. They show it on television. We hear news reports. When you sit and you listen to someone's experience of pain, there are faces to these stories. And when a story has a face, it's always different.
Look how she's looking.
The shelter provides a haven for women in immediate danger, but it's temporary. Women like Antonia and Tafarian will need to find more permanent housing for themselves and their children soon.
So you take your steps second by second. You're gonna be great. You will. You already know that. Until they're back on their feet. I feel like for all of these women, each day it's a decision to stay gone. Gotcha. I think we need to applaud them more when they do leave, as opposed to, blame them for staying.
Every year we look at domestic violence and domestic abuse.
And we just use 1 month out of the year to deal with that particular area. But you know what? Every so many seconds, somebody's being abused. Some woman is being tormented. Some woman is being beat. But I'm going to tell you right now, God never designed for any woman to be beat up. God never designed for any woman to be abused in any way, whether it be financially, whether it be physically.
It is a national crisis, an international crisis that disproportionately affects women in terms of the violence they experience, but affects men and women, boys and girls equally in terms of our societies and in the inequalities that we kind of grow up with.
And do what God has called me to do.
We actually need men to understand that this issue is something that directly impacts and shapes their very existence.
We dealt with time,
And so it is vital that we, all of us, join together in a global movement to help provide opportunity for women, that we stand with women, that women understand they're not alone, that they're not abandoned, that they're not victimized twice, once by the crime and again by the system that doesn't do anything about it.
Gender-based violence affects too many women and girls in the United States and around the world. And it's really hard to live when you are a victim of violence.
People cannot live happily believing that every tomorrow is going to be just like yesterday. They have to believe they can get up and paint a different picture tomorrow, and a different one the day after, and the day after, and the day after.
If you can't imagine yourself in a different situation, then it's not going to happen. What you have to do is dream about the future and have hope for the future, and that's how the future changes.
We illuminate a pathway where people believe that they are going someplace. That hope will spark.
We want people to understand that there are solutions. There are successes that we actually have learned from. And one of the reasons Nick and I wanted to look at Shining Hope, a organization based in one of the worst slums in Kenya, is that it's a community organization. It embraces education, healthcare, and it's a 360 degrees approach. It works because it is a perfect partnership.
My name is Kennedy Odede. I grew up in Kibera. Kibera is a very big slum. It's a place for more than 1 million people. There's not much regulations. In a 10 by 10 room can live more than 10 people. There's no electricity, there is no light, there is no government schools inside the slum. At the age of 10, hard life in my family forced me to run away and became a homeless kid, living by the street, living from the garbage. I feel that I really gained a lot of skills and a lot of education that I will never get anywhere else through that hardship. This kind of hard life can either build you or destroy you. But there's no way to dream that you're gonna make it out.
Yeah, you know, I've been in Kibera, 4 times, and I've never seen Shining Hope. Has it been there the whole time? Can you tell me about it?
Sure, it's an amazing organization, and one element of it is a terrific girls' school. Okay. And Mia's an old friend, and it's just fantastic to travel with her. She's just intrepid. My only concern is that she can be so outraged by what she's going to see. On one trip in Chad, Mia saw a man beating a woman, and the man was armed with a knife, but Mia jumped on the guy's back so the woman could run away.
One of the most useful things Nick taught me when I made one of my first trips into a very dangerous place by myself, I said, "Do you have any advice for me?" And it was this great advice. He said, shake your shoes out in the morning because it could be a scorpion in your shoes. Great advice.
Kennedy never got a lick of formal schooling, but is just brilliant, completely self-taught. And he was given a book about Mandela and Martin Luther King Jr., and he decided, I want to be a Martin Luther King. I want to be a Mandela. And so we started this youth empowerment program, initially kids playing soccer. Then they were doing kind of street theater, just impromptu scenes about, respecting women, for example. So this American student at Wesleyan, who was a theater major, she decided she wanted to intern with him. She insisted that she was going to live right in Kibera. And everybody was saying, you know, look, this, you know, white woman can't live in Kibera and they're rats. But she and Kennedy fell in love. So she came out here and she helped him. And the combination of Jessica with her wonkish, sort of policy-driven sense of where you get the most bang for the buck, Kennedy and his local authority, that's a terrific marriage. Okay. Next time, note to self, visit Kibera in the dry season.
Every time I come to Kenya, I go to Kibera. I guess this is my 4th or 5th trip to Kibera. Walking through Kibera as it is, with, you know, the open sewers and decades of uncollected garbage. Kids play there and trudge through to school. And this is really as challenging a place as I think exists on Earth. I never saw a community outreach that's working effect. I didn't see any hope I didn't see how that could happen. Oh, wow. And then there was this big blue building. No kidding.
Kibera School for Girls.
Suddenly and beautifully. I just was blown away, and I just it never even crossed my mind that I would see this in my lifetime.
Hey!
Good to see you. Welcome.
Great to see you.
You're Mia. Are you Kennedy?
Good to see you. Welcome.
Well, this is spectacular.
What is the process for choosing which girls get to come here?
Who's the very most vulnerable and who has the greatest potential, because we realize that we can't take everyone, and so we want to make the highest impact investments possible. The school is free, but parents or guardians or really anyone volunteers 5 weeks a year in exchange for free education.
Hello, girls.
Hi, girls.
How are you doing?
Jumbo.
What are you girls doing? Vanessa?
We are learning about writing, about a strategy called Show Not Tell.
It's a good strategy.
Wow, that's great.
What about Show Not Tell? Will explain, Mother. Show Not Tell is when you have a boring sentence in your story and you want to exchange it into a sentence that will enable people to make pictures in their mind. Yeah?
English is their third language, presumably.
Yeah.
So we came across a boring sentence which is my brother was excited and jumped in the water. So we want to show how our brother was excited.
So we just took our first government exam, which they'll have to take at the end of 8th grade to get into high school. And we were ranked #1 in our whole district.
You have one.
Wow. So it was really good. Oh, you have one? Okay.
He giggled, he jumped up and down, and entered the water with a great splash. Wow, let's clap for them. Welcome to 4th grade girls. We are the forever shining girls.
I have a question. Can some of you tell me what you hope to be when you're a full-grown woman?
Yes, Joyce?
When I grow up, I want to be a doctor to treat different types of diseases. When I grow up, I want to be a lawyer so that I can fight for children's rights.
Jackie?
When I grow up, I want to be a teacher so that I can build my own school like Jess and Ken and help the street children.
That's really nice, Jackie.
Did any of your mothers finish high school? How many of you had mothers who've got to 8th grade? Did your mothers get to class 8 anyway? How many had mothers who got to class 4? And do some of you help teach your mothers or your fathers how to write a little bit sometimes? Do you help your mom and dad?
Who wants to be a president? Oh, that's Martha. She's in the other class.
Wow. Thank you. Thanks so much.
We had this idea of building a school for girls. We had $10,000, and that was it. So we had 4 weeks too to build the school during our summer vacation. So we trooped off and said, you know, we're going to build the first free school for girls in 4 weeks with $10,000. And we ended up using like some of my savings, my babysitting money to finish it off. But we just had this belief that this needed to happen and that there was an urgency and that this model, this new idea of a girls' school connected to these services was going to work.
These girls, they brush their teeth after
Yes,
lunch each day?
after lunch, they
Every day?
brush their teeth, yes.
One of the advantages of a grassroots, locally owned program like Shining Hope is that it can be exceptionally nimble. What grade are these girls?
This is preschool.
This is preschool.
All right, let's all share.
It comes across something new, and then it tweaks its model to try to encompass and address it. So it sees that some children can't study because they have intestinal parasites, so it introduces a broader deworming program. It sees that families need clean water, so it introduces an element of providing water. Because I think a lot of people would look here and they would see poverty, they'd see despair.
And I can just see the community.
It sees that some children can't study because they have been raped, and it incorporates an element of gender-based violence into its program. And what proportion of your kindergartners do you think have been raped?
So this last year, 15% of them had been raped before or abused before starting preschool. So they're between 4 and 5.5 at that point.
Is that a factor that you consider in bringing them in?
Absolutely. If the child has already been raped and 4 years old, puts this girl at the very bottom. And also we realize that these girls, if we're taking the most vulnerable and we want them to be the most successful, that's not going to be possible without a huge investment in terms of their teachers and their social workers and their parents. So we're getting their parents in economic empowerment programs, and it's sort of a holistic approach.
We have a case here, so I asked we can go together and see what's happening.
Yeah, and actually this case here is a girl who's applying to the school.
Oh, is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
also.
She's applying to the pre-K.
To the pre-K.
We had a different day planned, and then
How are you doing?
we heard about Stephen, the grand uncle of this 4-year-old, delicate little child, Ida, appeared at Shining Hope. And he had said that she had been raped and she had been damaged. He had taken her to the hospital and they had to stitch her.
My wife and the social worker went to the police station. The police officer refused to give the warrant for arrest of
The guy.
So this is a case where there's medical evidence, there are witnesses, and yet he isn't arrested.
The boy is still walking around freely.
He's around.
He's around
The police
freely.
was saying, why can't you forgive? Why can't just you leave this?
Yeah,
something like this?
so what I think we're gonna do, we will be going to the police. This kid deserves justice. What has happened to Ada we cannot allow that to happen. You know what I mean? And the reason I take these things so seriously in my life, Steve, is that this is our community. This is our home. She is my sister, she is my daughter. You know what I mean? And that's how we're gonna take this case.
It was wonderful having Shining Hope there, that he turned to Shining Hope in hopes that they would, help him in search of justice for Ida. And of course, it all happened right away.
Tumekujia kwa hii kesi ya Steve. Huyu msichana mdogo alirepiwa na tunataka the warrant of arrest because that guy is walking free.
You don't issue a warrant of arrest.
Why you go and arrest?
Yeah.
I can arrest because that's the arrest. I have to get the letter. The
We are
warrant.
not able, we know, we are there to do that job. It's our job. Yes. We are the ones supposed to go and arrest the culprits.
Yeah. Jessica, what is going on right now?
Well, I don't really understand because Sharifa, who's our caseworker who does this every day, says that they're the ones who issue the warrants of arrest. So we don't know why they're saying that they don't. What did the officer, what did she tell you? Tell me.
Okay, she told us that when we bring cases, the cases don't go far.
So she said that if Shafco brings cases,
Yeah, they
we
don't-
bring too many cases.
Yeah.
The police also won't come into Kabaretnik. So the arrest isn't that the police come. It's like that there's a citizen's arrest, and then you take him to the police outside of Kibera.
You know, for poor woman to be coming here all the time trying to, you know.
She's here.
I told her she should be in custody now, as we speak now.
We-
She should be in cells.
I think you're talking not in a
This
good
lady
way.
should be in cells?
No, I'm talking in a good way.
These women keep on coming with the cases. Don't tell them to be arrested.
This is the mother of a 4-year-old child who has been raped. We're just asking that you listen.
The issue is that because I think the kids were left because the mother went to work.
That she left the kids
Yes.
alone, and so she's saying she's
So
the
is-
one who should be arrested.
That is a separate issue of whether she should or should not have left the children alone. A separate issue.
The way you are talking.
The way you are talking,
the way you are not supposed to
it's not I'm talking. I'm so painful for this 4-year-old kid. What has been? Can you feel pain for this kid?
I'm telling you, don't argue.
No, not arguing. I'm saying my point.
It's incredibly complicated. We play a role that I really think we shouldn't have to play, where we are walking with them through this process. And so oftentimes it's, 7, 8 times at the police station. All the evidence is there, and you still can't get them to make an arrest.
Unbelievable amount of talk. Unbelievable.
The incredible thing is to think for every case that gets reported and has this extraordinary support from Jessica and Kennedy and maybe gets some justice, how many never even get spoken about? I'm Ronan Farrow. I'm doing my own work as a journalist, telling a number of stories here in Kenya. It's hard to get concrete numbers in a place like Kibera. I've worked on women's rights issues in a lot of really tough places, and to be here with Nick and here with my mom is a dream come true.
Says one person or 2 people can't make a huge difference. And where would these kids be without Jessica and Kennedy?
It's really...
I have traveled a lot with Ronan. When he was little, I could take him with me on my journeys. And there were some places I seriously questioned whether I should bring him. To Darfur twice, for example.
Their story is incredible, their love story.
I know. But I don't expect we'll ever probably make another one of these journeys together, because it hasn't happened since he was a child.
What can I say to the kids that they would understand? What would be a good phrase?
Oh, jina lako nani?
Gino lako
Nani? Jina?
Gina?
Lako?
Lako?
Nani?
Gino?
Gina?
Gina?
Yeah?
Lako?
Nani? Yes.
Gina lako nani?
Yes.
The women work so hard.
So much.
In
So
this
much.
community.
Yes.
Kennedy took me deep into Kibera, to the places where he grew up, and he talked about his childhood as a street kid.
Yeah. So I used to live here. It was really horrible life.
He saw friends of his tied to tires and burned alive.
This one, come.
If you see that kind of violence, that kind of crushing, grinding poverty, and you see stories like Kennedy that show how leadership can emerge from a place like this. Thank you, sir. It really must be said that it's against all odds.
So there's no public services.
Here.
Exactly.
No
like,
public service.
Nothing. So look at all these wires. These are all stolen power. You can see here the PVC pipes run underneath the sewage, basically. People tap this pipe into an illegal line, and then someone disconnects the line, so like they work for a little while, and then they get shut off.
It's like people are being just deliberately punished to send a clean water pipe right past Kibera, straight into Nairobi.
Yeah. It's like, it wouldn't be hard to fix if there was the political will. I met with the second lady of Kenya, and she asked me if the houses in Kibera have water taps. And I was like,
She needs to come visit.
you should come and visit. How are you? You're late for school, Aisha. Are you coming now? So sometimes if there's like a white person walking who people don't know, they'll just say Jessica.
I've never read college application essays, but I bet half of them or more are like, I want to make a difference and I want to make a better world. But To follow through on it, you know, and actually go to Kibera and actually live there was a bold, bold move.
So we're going to the house, Kennedy's house that I lived in with him. Amosi.
She found her match with Kennedy and his story, making his enormous leap.
So that's Mama J-Lo. That's Mama J-Lo and J-Lo, her daughter.
Hey, Mama J-Lo, J-Lo.
Come on in. This is it.
This is the whole house?
Yeah, back here there's a bed. And then over here, there's a small kitchen.
It's actually
Here, please sit down.
romantic.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's kind of
A romantic little house.
Yeah.
When did you fall in love? When did you know that was what it was?
Well, we always joke, like, we sort of fell in love at first sight.
I have to be careful because I learned, this is what I learned in my readings. I read a lot of novels, you know that. So I knew how American thinks.
When we first met, we met at this bus stop, and then we walked here together.
And then when I saw her, I was in love. But I was like, no, wait, Kennedy, you know, in my eyes, I must say, Kennedy, you know what? You read the books, this is American, you know, so keep quiet with your love.
And Kennedy, like, held my hand crossing the street.
No, I didn't say anything. And she thought I was holding her hand to cross the road. And when we crossed the road, I kept on holding the hands.
And I sort of looked at him funny.
And she was like, what's going on with this guy, you know?
And he looked at me and he's like, oh, in Kenya culture, it's customary for, like, you know, for a guest, for me to hold your hand.
You just came from America. I have to teach you these things. Our culture here, we hold people's hand.
And so we would walk around the city just holding hands.
And I thought you'd never go ask anybody.
One day, someone else on my program, an American, was walking with us, and she came up to me and she said, why are you guys holding hands? And I told her, I was like, oh, don't you know it's Kenyan culture? It's, like, respectful to hold hands. And then she went home and asked her homestay sister, who said it was very much not Kenyan culture for men and women to hold hands. But I was sort of very blown away and intimidated by him. When I first came here, all that was here was books. If he ever got money, he would buy a book.
This was a kid who didn't go to school.
Who totally self-educated.
I'm a quick learner, and I loved reading. There's two ways of forgetting your poverty and stress. It's either using drugs and alcohol or being in the world of books. The books take your mind somewhere else. That's how I survived.
So the chickens know their places.
The chickens, they know their home.
I had this idea that why shouldn't he try to apply to college? And so he submitted an application to Wesleyan. He had a piece of paper written in pencil, his transcript. And he wrote an essay about his life and his story. And Wesleyan gave him a full scholarship.
So you were there for 4 years in the United States. And then you decided to come back.
Yes, it was not an easy decision, though. I don't know if it happened to you sometimes. You feel something in your heart talking to you like, hey, man.
Kennedy's just a cool dude.
You have a good job and make more money.
He's inspiring to me because he went to an affluent liberal arts college setting, and because he came from nothing, he was seriously weighing becoming a corporate lawyer, but he came back to the chaotic, narrow, winding passageways of his childhood.
You have to be very careful here.
I see that. And bring those resources to bear, not for profit, not to enrich himself or build his own empire, but to help the community.
Working is also struggling.
Working is struggling, I know it. Yeah, I have yet to take a real spill in Kibera, but it's... And is working there every day, trying to make a difference. And I think a lot of that strength comes from the relationship with Jessica and the fact that she was there holding up the organization while he was in college.
When I first even decided I wanted to come to Kenya, my parents were shocked because I hate camping, I hate getting dirty. Not the type of person you would ever expect.
So really, it was Kennedy.
You meet people and you just realize like they make you better than you were.
Suddenly, out of nowhere, we heard that this new child has been found. She was in very bad shape, unable to walk, and Shining Hope became involved. So I jumped in the van, not knowing really what to expect. I've never been on such a journey. And that was my meeting with Flavian.
Alikuwa nyumba amefungiwa huko kutoka Saturday. Sasa nikaenda kazini, akaniambia nasikia kifua na huku kwa tumbo na huku chini na kwa mgongo na magoti pia. Sasa nimetembea kutoka hiyo. Umetembea kutoka hiyo siku kupiga simu kwa anapigiwa HR aone kama yuko. Tunajua alikuwa anasema tunakwenda huko tuwezi ingia tu. Lazima
The perpetrator, we think, is her biological grandfather?
So that's
or...
what we've heard, but we don't really know. Here, so let's take her to the hospital now.
That was the point.
But they need to see the girl and then throw in the accusement.
Okay, but George says that's not true, and I trust him.
But I'm telling you, this is the officer who's in charge, and they do it every day.
Report office huko. Report office. Ona pale.
They won't let her go to the hospital. She should be in the hospital. This is ridiculous.
Because like the process is different every time, so everyone's like shouting different things at us. And what we want is to get this poor girl to the hospital.
Maybe now she is going to go.
Alikuwa amepakiwa.
Yeah. So we can follow.
This is the perpetrator.
That's the perpetrator.
This one.
Where?
The one who is taken to the that one.
What is your name?
The name is John Songo.
How old are you, John?
How old are you? Almost 55.
55? And the girl, how is she related to you?
She's my granddaughter.
And what is her name?
Flavian.
Flavian?
I don't know the other name, but her mom knows.
How old is she now? She's 4 years. And this has been going on for years? Come on,
And, John, did you rape Flavian?
I didn't.
And you did not lock her up in her room?
Mara ngapi kwa wiki? Yaani tu hata sijui alikuwa tunatoka kazini kila siku. Like every day.
Come, let's come.
The only thing that would worry me a little bit is that it's essentially her word against his, and there's going to be no, presumably no others. Flavian said it had happened many times.
Yeah.
And it sounds like she's been injured. She's incontinent, apparently, which might mean a fistula of some kind.
How many doctors does she need? She needs 1, 2, 3, 4.
When I woke up, my first question for everybody was, how is Flavian and what's happened to her? Jessica had taken her from the hospital and brought her to the safe house of Shining Hope.
I talked to the doctor, and they seem to think it was a really bad infection, and that might be why she couldn't walk.
So they let her out last night?
Yeah, so they let her out last
Okay.
night. It was really strong antibiotics.
I was
Grandfather-
surprised
yeah,
they didn't keep her
I really pushed.
at least overnight.
I really tried. And also that she doesn't really have a place to go, it seems like it would make tremendous sense. And they said, no, we're discharging her. In the beginning, it started with men in the community and community leaders coming together and saying, we don't want to see this. We don't want to worry about our children, about our sisters, about our wives. And that was really the start of our gender department.
They didn't even write her name. They didn't even write her name.
Persistence in many ways is our only tool, because even in cases where we have not been successful and where we cannot get anything to happen, we still want them to know that we're watching and that we're not going to stop and that we're still going to be here tomorrow and the day after tomorrow looking for justice.
Kitendo ilianza lini?
Kitendo ilianza kitambo sana.
Ulianza kuishi na huyo mzee lini?
Nilikuwa mdogo sana.
Nilikuwa kama miaka 2. Baba yako alikufa? Na mama?
Mama yuko Shago.
Your mother, your real mother? Na aliacha katoto ushafanya. Ameolewa na ataitwa Mundungi.
She and Kate are the same tribe, and so she's being much more cooperative because Kate is talking to her in her language.
Anakujanga saa ngapi wakati mnalala?
Sijui sana.
Akilala na wewe anakwambia ngapi?
Nikiambia mtu atanichinja.
She's very bitter about the case because she says if it happened to her daughter, she would never take the guy who did that to her daughter to the police station. She will deal with the guy herself. She'd first of all cut his penis off. Yeah.
Okay. She wrote me in this note that she's so grateful that it's over and that she's safe at last. So it's going to be a brand new day tomorrow. You know, and thank God. And no one ever deserved a brand new day better than this kid.
We're watching a soccer game between these two great rival slums, Mutare and Kibera. This is organized by Shining Hope, and it's an echo of what started Shining Hope, which was a soccer empowerment program, a way of getting kids to work together, to think about broader thoughts by enticing them to play soccer.
Everybody loves soccer here. I mean, people are coming to watch, and then from there, you can instill some values, some women issues, community issues.
Kennedy, I think, is an eternal optimist.
This guy is the best.
He always has this incredible belief in the people around him, and I think he saw that there's so much potential in Kibera and in the young people growing up in slums all over this country and the world.
That's where this idea of social group, that is a movement that will just say that let's forget everybody else in the world, let's forget even the government. The idea is let's think that we're now living here and we're in this jungle of poverty. We were gonna help ourselves.
Tumeingia Mathare, ama tumekabishwa Mathare.
Let's do the cleanups. Let's protect our sisters. Let's talk about gender violence. Let's have a happy family here.
And this guy is my hero. Coaches hold this team with nothing, with no job.
I saw Kennedy speak pretty soon after I met him in front of the young people in Shafco and his organization. And I was just blown away by his conviction and by his ability to bring people together. And I just saw this incredible leadership.
And the most important thing in this world is to have hope. You know, when you have hope, hope make you feel what? Hope inakuonyesha kwamba tomorrow is possible.
When we were passing through hardship with no money, we spend days with no food, you know, to talk about the future, to talk about what we want in the society. You know what I mean? It's about partnership and listening to the ground. That's how we can solve this problem.
We do campaigns all the time about different issues.
Public health campaigns.
Public health campaigns. So it could be about family planning awareness. And today is actually a campaign about deworming.
I'm a huge fan of deworming.
It's amazing.
You know,
I had no idea
with
how simple
one pill, and it has these lifetime effects. People are going to be stronger and better educated and healthier.
Absolutely.
Traditionally, aid has been sort of a seat of the pants thing, and you see a need and you kind of march in and hand something out, whether it works or it doesn't work. And in contrast, business is driven by metrics, by evaluation, by data. Well, the differences are closing now, and Shining Hope is gathering data the way a company would to understand its market, to understand where it's making a difference, where its resources are going to be most effective.
This year, we're going to serve about 43,000 people. So we can actually see every single time anyone uses any of our services. So one, I think it's important for accountability. And two, it's important for our own understanding of how our programs work. You can feel that change is happening, but it's really amazing to actually be able to see it.
Measure it and see it.
This is so cool. I love seeing how you do it.
We're walking through the slum on this GPS treasure hunt.
So cool. She went a little bit too far, and the GPS told her to come back.
Corrected her.
Yeah. How do you find the coordinates?
So these are randomly generated coordinates.
Randomly generated coordinates.
They're coordinates of a house that we're trying to find. And the aim is to build a data set
How many meters?
about people in Kibera, what their attitudes are, what their income is. We're 7.9 meters away. The Shining Hope people ask all kinds of questions to understand a control group that can be contrasted with those who are Shining Hope members.
So in this survey, there's questions like, has your husband ever pulled your hair?
The survey asks some very sensitive questions about family planning, about sexual violence.
Or ever told you that he's going to kill you? Has he ever punched you with his fist or with something?
The woman said that she had been forced by her husband to have sex against her will. But she also said separately that she had never been raped. It's through survey data like that that we kind of understand the backdrop of sexual violence that just permeates Kibera, and that we have seen very tragically in the case of several girls on this visit. We're here at the Kibera Law Courts, and this is going to be a crucial day in Flavian's case because her grandfather, John Songo, has been brought here for an arraignment.
Umeshtakiwa na kosa la kumnajisi mtu ambaye mko na yeye ukiwa mwanamume kwa kupenda kwako na kinyume cha sheria ulisababisha sehemu yako ya siri kupenyeza kwenye sehemu ya siri ya Flavian, mtoto wa miaka 11. Kweli ama si kweli?
Given how broken the justice system is here, the fact that he is behind bars does suggest that perhaps, in some cases, you can push the right buttons and impunity can end.
This is also really slippery right here. There?
Yeah.
We're really almost there this time. Hi!
I'm happy to see you.
Ida is temporarily living with Mama Janet and her daughter, Janet. Mama Janet is a parent at our school, and she thought Ida would be a really great candidate. And then when she heard that the perpetrator was still living near Ida, she offered to take Ida and let her live here with Janet, who's in preschool.
Next term, Ida will begin at Shining Hope. And I was just flooded with relief because I know how remarkable those Shining Hope girls are.
Steven. Thank you for letting us come visit.
Bye.
Bye, Ida.
Thank you, Jenny.
Bye.
Okay, Samson.
Yes.
Now the perpetrator.
Yes.
Ida.
Yes.
I found where he is now.
Yes.
Georgia Kewa, the administrator of Shining Hope, has heard that Ida's alleged attacker has been spotted.
He's in the house.
Yes. Now. Right now.
Now.
Okay, let's go.
The police are willing to move in, but there are guns and gangs everywhere in Kibera, and so they take armed escorts.
Let's go on. Here.
Just go up to the house.
Wako ndani sasa. Subra ni pande gani?
Ukiambia wanajua.
Here, inside here.
Inside here. Ukiambia wanajua. Mahali wali.
Where are they?
Yes.
Here. Habari zenu? Sasa sisi ni polisi na tumekuja kushika wewe. Uko na miaka ngapi?
He's just a kid.
Okay, let's go. Okay. Okay, let's go. Ukamfanyia nini? Nilala na yeye.
Hakuna haja. Nani mtoto kijana mdogo? 12 years hatasakiwa na nini madam? Na hii ni 4 years nasikia alidefile mtoto ya 12 years.
Where's his father? It's a tiny child.
Just a little
That's
kid.
a tiny little kid. Yeah. He was apparently being left at home alone, as we've heard in so many of these stories, for 12, 13-hour days every day, and had been picked up for manual labor by a neighbor, and was actually doing some of that work in a brothel. So the father felt maybe he picked up some of the behavior there, and that he wished he could have been home more for his son. But I think it's victims on all sides in this case.
Is anybody talking to this? If he is 12 or even younger, is there anyone there to talk to him tonight and explain the process? And
the police won't allow it.
They won't allow it. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but tomorrow we'll talk to these people, and we're gonna try even to bring our.
See if you can get access for a counselor of some kind.
Yes, we are going to follow. As we're working on either side, we're also going to work on this one.
Side.
Yeah.
We've been waiting a number of days to catch the person who raped tiny Ida. And finally we get this phone call, and honestly, we were jubilant. The vision of a man in handcuffs being at last put where he belongs in prison. And then we get here. It's not a man, it's a small child. And so we see these two children in this awful situation.
How many of us have now?
Sanctuary never tell you never special visitors. Oh,
I don't know how to say this, but it was a moment of proof that trying and trying and trying, you never know what's going to happen. And my heart was filled because I didn't know we will reach that day. I didn't know that one day we're gonna have the kids that I see on the streets be able to be so elegant, so confident, and know what they want.
It's not where I am, but where I'm going that matters. My future has nothing to do with my past nor present. The hard times I've had make me stronger and better.
And who knew that we will reach there? Who knew that one day we're gonna have Kibera School for girls? So it was a moment to think for me that another world is possible. And through hope, we can achieve our dreams. And it's not one person. It has to be a movement. People have to pull together. It's about pulling. There are three parts of the world. The past, who I saw these girls were suffering on the street and I didn't know what to do. See them there, which made me to tear, like how much confidence they got. They weren't even able to speak English. Now they even speak better than me. Oh God, they educated better than me, I don't mind. And I put my mind into some years to come and see the fruits of that education. And I'm like, wow. That proved to me something that my mother told me, you don't have to be rich or to be poor to have an impact. And everyone, everywhere, despite their status, can have an impact in humanity.
Kennedy and Jessica see the emergence of strong, well-educated, able women going forth into the community. Kennedy's determination to transform Kibera, one child at a time, as it turns out, hundreds at a time. It will transform Kibera.
I look at Kennedy and I see, I hope, a next generation of leadership in Kenya that can finally not turn a blind eye to places like Kibera. The solutions have to come from within, and then if you can couple that with partnerships with the outside world, maybe there's a fighting chance.
What Kennedy and Jessica are doing in Kibera is important. If we work together to develop everyone's capacity, if we cut poverty in half and doubled the empowerment initiatives that gave people a chance to chart their own course, it would have a breathtaking effect on everybody's future.
It's up to us, individuals, to do what philanthropy should be best at, which is taking risk that the markets don't want to take, and proving that there is something that is high impact and is also sustainable. And if we can find those things, then we can actually scale to reach millions of people and help them move from poverty to the middle class.
Big problems that we face cannot be solved unilaterally or in one corner of the globe. It requires working across the entire globe.
And we know how to do it. We just need to roll up our sleeves.
It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what your immigration status is, what your literacy level is, you can make history.
It is a wave that will not be stopped ultimately. And you just can't put these ideas back into a bottle and avoid a confrontation with the future anymore. It's going to happen.
A path appears comes from a Chinese saying by the great writer Lu Xun that hope is like a path in the countryside. Originally, there is nothing, but as people walk this way again and again, a path appears. It does seem to us that a path is appearing about how to make a difference.
When we look at these monumental problems, they seem so daunting, but we can change the course of history. We can change the calculus. We can set these young children onto a much more promising path so that we can change society, change the world we live in.